Have you ever been in a relationship where, deep down, you felt something was wrong, but you couldn't quite explain it? You gave your energy, your attention, maybe even your money, but instead of feeling uplifted, you felt drained. If that's ever happened to you, listen carefully. It wasn't just bad luck. It might have been because you were dealing with what Stoic philosophers would call a low-value person. Now, before we go deeper, I want you to do two things for me. First, hit that subscribe button and give this video a like, because the wisdom we're about to cover has the power to completely change how you see relationships. Second, watch until the end, because once you know these signs, you'll never waste your time, energy, or peace of mind on the wrong woman again. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And I'd add, the happiness of your relationships depends on the quality of the person you choose to share your life with. So today, using both Stoic wisdom and real-life psychology, we're going to uncover the 6 clear signs of a low-value woman and how you can protect yourself. But instead of jumping straight into a checklist, let's build some context. Let me tell you a quick story. There was a man named Darius, a soldier in Rome, brave, disciplined, admired by his peers. But when it came to love, he found himself broken. Why? Because he fell for a woman who seemed charming at first, but little by little her true nature drained him. She was constantly dissatisfied. Nothing he gave was enough. Her words were sweet when she wanted something, sharp when she didn't get her way. She had no loyalty, no self-control, and no purpose outside of chasing attention. When Darius finally saw her for what she was, it was too late. He had wasted years of his life. Marcus Aurelius would say that suffering teaches us, but only if we reflect. And so Darius learned to recognize the signs, and today, I'm going to share those signs with you. 1, she thrives on drama. Do you remember your very first relationship? Or maybe the one that left the deepest scar? Close your eyes for a second and think about it. Do you remember how it felt when things were sweet? When she looked at you like you were her whole world. But then, remember how quickly things could flip? One small misunderstanding. Maybe you didn't text back fast enough. Maybe you didn't notice her new hairstyle. Maybe you were just tired after work and suddenly, it felt like World War III had started. Tell me honestly, didn't it feel exhausting? This is exactly what Marcus Aurelius warned about when he said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." But here's the trap. If the woman you're with thrives on drama, you'll always feel like you have no control over your own peace. Let me tell you a story of a man named Lucius. He was a strong, disciplined soldier in Rome. He faced battles, storms, and sleepless nights on the front lines. But do you know what drained him the most? Not the battlefield, not the enemy. It was the woman waiting for him at home. Lucius would come back from war expecting rest, but she would create storms out of silence. If he was quiet, she accused him of hiding something. If he spoke his truth, she twisted his words into daggers. If he gave her attention, it was never enough. And if he ever pulled away to breathe, she called him cold, distant, or unloving. Does that sound familiar to you? Have you ever felt like no matter what you do, you're walking on eggshells because she's always looking for a reason to spark chaos? See, here's the thing. A high-value woman values peace. She understands that life already has enough challenges, and she doesn't need to create more. But a low-value woman, drama is her food, conflict is her oxygen. Without chaos, she feels empty. And here's the most dangerous part. Drama can feel addictive. At first, you think it's passion. The constant fighting and making up feels intense, almost like fire. But that fire doesn't warm you, it burns you. Slowly, it takes away your strength, your confidence, even your ability to trust again. Marcus Aurelius would remind himself daily, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. In other words, the drama isn't the problem. The problem is that you allow yourself to stay in it. So let me ask you directly, do you want a love story that feels like a battlefield? Or do you want one that feels like peace after the storm? Because here's the truth. A woman who thrives on drama will never let you rest. She'll always need conflict to feel alive. And if you don't recognize this early, you'll spend years confusing emotional chaos for love. And brother, you deserve better than that. 2, she has no self-discipline. Have you ever been with a woman who was exciting in the beginning, spontaneous, full of life, but over time, you realized her fun was just recklessness dressed in disguise? Think about it. Maybe she always wanted to go out, Parties, trips, endless shopping sprees. Maybe she couldn't save a single dollar. Or maybe her idea of self-care was indulging in everything that gave her temporary pleasure but no long-term growth. Now, let me tell you something, Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself in his meditations. You must be master of your own desires. He was reminding himself that true strength comes from self-control. And if a woman cannot control her own impulses, then eventually, those impulses will control you. Let's go back to our Roman soldier, Lucius. After realizing how much drama drained him, he thought he'd found something better. This new woman, Callista, was beautiful, radiant, and her laughter could light up a room. But over time, Lucius noticed something. Callista lived only for pleasure. If she wanted jewelry, she demanded it instantly. If she wanted to drink, she drank until she couldn't walk. If she wanted attention, she flirted with other men just to feel desired. At first, Lucius ignored it. He told himself, she's young, she'll mature. But the truth is, without self-discipline, maturity never arrives. Because discipline is the foundation of growth. Now think about your own love life. Have you ever been with a woman who couldn't control herself? Whether it was her spending habits, her temper, her drinking, or even her loyalty? And didn't it always leave you feeling like you had to play the role of her father, her teacher, her rescuer, instead of her partner? That's the danger. A relationship where one person has no discipline always becomes unbalanced. You end up carrying the weight. You become the responsible one, the one who fixes everything she breaks. But what happens to you in the process? You burn out. The Stoics believe that self-mastery is the root of freedom. If she cannot master herself, she is enslaved by her impulses. And if you tie your life to hers, you become enslaved by them too. Here's the trap. Sometimes her wildness might feel attractive. It feels like fun, like passion, like unpredictability. But passion without discipline is chaos. Imagine building a house on sand. It might look beautiful for a while, but eventually it collapses. Marcus Aurelius would remind us, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. But if your relationship constantly feels like you're cleaning up her messes, then she's not your partner, she's your obstacle. So I'll ask you this. Do you want to build a future with someone who controls her life, her emotions, her desires, or with someone who drifts like a ship with no anchor, expecting you to be the anchor every single day? Because here's the truth. A woman without self-discipline cannot build a high-value life with you. And if you don't recognize this, her lack of discipline will eventually drain yours. And brother, that's not love, that's slow destruction. Here she disrespects you subtly. Have you ever been with a woman who never directly insulted you, but somehow, every time you walked away from her, you felt smaller than you were before? Not because of one big fight, not because she shouted at you, but because of those little cuts. The sarcastic jokes in front of her friends, the way she rolled her eyes when you spoke, the way she brushed off your achievements as not that big of a deal. It's death by 1,000 cuts, and most men ignore it because it doesn't seem like a big deal in the moment. But over time, it destroys your confidence. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. But here's the thing. When you let someone plant seeds of disrespect in your mind every single day, eventually those seeds grow into doubt. You stop trusting yourself. You start wondering, am I really enough? Let me take you back to Lucius again. After the chaos of Callista, he thought he had found someone wiser. Her name was Marcia. She wasn't loud, she wasn't reckless. She seemed calm. But Lucius soon noticed something different. Her disrespect wasn't obvious. It was subtle. When he spoke about his dreams of leading men in battle, she smirked and said, "Oh, you and your little fantasies." When he bought her a gift after months away, she replied, "Couldn't you find something nicer?" When he sat in silence, tired from long marches, she whispered, "You're so boring sometimes." At first, Lucius laughed it off. He told himself, she's joking. But slowly, he noticed that he stopped sharing his dreams. He stopped opening up. He stopped feeling like the strong, confident man he once was. And this is exactly how subtle disrespect works. It doesn't break you all at once, it erodes you. It makes you question your worth until you're no longer the man you used to be. Now pause and reflect. Has this ever happened to you? Have you ever started shrinking yourself just to avoid her little remarks? Have you ever stopped talking about what excites you? Because you know she'll mock it? That's not love. That's control. A high-value woman corrects you with kindness. When you're wrong, and supports you when you're right. A low-value woman uses mockery as a weapon and disrespect as her language, and if you accept it once, it becomes the rhythm of your relationship. Marcus Aurelius would say, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If every day you allow a woman's disrespect to color your thoughts, your soul becomes stained with doubt. So here's my question to you. Why would you fight battles in the world, work hard to build a future, and then come home to someone who treats your victories like they're nothing? Because the truth is this: subtle disrespect is still disrespect. And once you let it in, it only grows. And brother, you deserve a love that builds you, not one that slowly breaks you, for she lacks purpose. Have you ever been with a woman who, when you really thought about it, didn't seem to have any real direction in life? Sure, she might have been fun to be around. She might have been beautiful, charming, even magnetic at times. But when you stripped away the laughter, the nights out and the distractions, what was left? Nothing solid. No vision, no mission, no foundation. Here's why this matters. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." He believed life without purpose is like a body without a soul. And that wisdom doesn't just apply to men, it applies to women too. Let me take you back to our Roman soldier, Lucius. After years of battles and heartbreaks, he met a woman named Helena. She was warm, affectionate, and always wanted to be by his side. At first, Lucius thought, "Finally, someone who truly wants me." But over time, he noticed something. Helena had no direction of her own. She had no passions, no drive, no discipline to pursue anything meaningful. Her entire existence revolved around Lucius. What he did, she did. What he wanted, she wanted. At first, this flattered him, but soon it became suffocating. Because when she felt bored, she blamed him. When she felt empty, she turned to him for purpose. And no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't fill a void that she refused to fill herself. Now stop for a second and think about your own relationships. Have you ever been with a woman who relied on you for everything? Her happiness, her sense of identity, even her reason to get out of bed in the morning? At first it feels good to be her everything, but soon it becomes a burden. Because here's the hard truth. When a woman lacks purpose, she turns you into her purpose. And that's a dangerous imbalance. A high-value woman has her own mission, her own passions, her own goals. She adds to your life because she's building her own. A low-value woman, on the other hand, drifts like a leaf in the wind, clinging to whoever seems strongest at the time. Marcus Aurelius lived with clarity of purpose every single day. He woke up reminding himself of his duty to Rome, to virtue, to his people. Imagine if he had wasted his life chasing distractions instead. Rome would have fallen sooner. His name would have been forgotten. And here's what you need to understand. A woman without purpose will always pull you off your path. She doesn't mean to destroy you, but her emptiness will demand your energy, your focus, your resources. And if you're not careful, your mission will become rescuing her from herself. So let me ask you, do you want a partner who stands beside you on your path? Or someone who drags you off it because she doesn't have one of her own? Because love without purpose isn't love, it's dependency. And dependency disguised as love always ends in resentment. Brother, protect your mission, protect your peace, because if she lacks purpose, she will eventually pull you away from yours. 5. She is loyal only to herself. Have you ever given your loyalty to someone only to realize they were only loyal as long as it benefited them? It's a terrible feeling, isn't it? You think you're building something solid, but one day, you wake up and realize her loyalty wasn't to you, wasn't to love, wasn't to the relationship. It was only to herself. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." A high-value person lives by principles, but a low-value woman, her only principle is self-interest. Let me tell you about Lucius again, our Roman soldier. After everything he had gone through, drama, recklessness, disrespect, emptiness, he thought he had finally learned. But temptation has many faces. This time he met a woman named Aurelia. She was clever, quick-witted, and always seemed to admire him. She said all the right things. "You're the strongest man I know. You're the only one I trust. I'll always be here for you." And for a while it seemed true. She stood beside him in victory. She praised him when others doubted. But then came the real test when Lucius fell into hardship. He was injured in battle. His influence weakened. His name was no longer spoken in the Senate halls. And Aurelia? She began to change. She grew distant. She spent more time with other men of higher rank. And eventually, she left him without a word, walking toward the life that served her better. The truth hit Lucius, like a sword through the chest. Her loyalty was never to him. It was to her comfort, her advantage, her survival. Now let me ask you, has this ever happened to you? Have you ever noticed that when you were at your best, making money, achieving, shining bright, she was always by your side? But the moment you stumbled, she began pulling away. That's the mark of a low-value woman. She is loyal only to herself. She'll ride with you when the road is smooth. But the second the road gets rough, she jumps off your carriage and hitches a ride with someone else. But a high-value woman? Her loyalty doesn't shift with the winds. She understands that real love is tested in hardship. She knows that loyalty is not convenience, it's character. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that a good man must be upright, not kept upright. In the same way, a good woman must be steadfast, not kept steadfast by circumstances. So here's my challenge to you. Look closely at the woman in your life. Is she with you, for your heart, your soul, your essence? Or is she with you for what she gains, your status, your money, your protection, your attention? Because if her loyalty is only to herself, brother, it's not loyalty at all. It's a transaction. And one day, when she finds a better deal, you'll be the one left behind, and you deserve better than that. 6. She destroys instead of builds. When you picture the woman you want beside you, do you see someone who adds to your life, who helps you grow, who multiplies your peace, or someone who drains it all away? Because the 6th and most dangerous sign of a low-value woman is this: she destroys instead of builds. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." And the same applies to women. Don't waste time arguing whether she's good for you. Look at the evidence. What does her presence create in your life? Let's return to Lucius one last time. After years of battles, both in war and in love, he thought he had seen it all. But then came Valeria. She was stunning, persuasive, and at first she made him feel alive again. She whispered that she believed in him, that together they could build something greater than he had ever dreamed. But the longer Lucius stayed with her, the more he realized she wasn't building anything. She was dismantling everything. His friendships, she poisoned them with jealousy and lies. His focus, she tore it apart with endless demands for attention. His ambition, she mocked it until he stopped speaking of it. Even his peace, the quiet moments he once cherished, were replaced with noise, complaints, and conflict. Valeria didn't build Lucius into a stronger man. She chipped away at him until he was a shadow of himself. And that is what a low-value woman does. She does not create, she consumes. Now pause here. Think about your own story. Have you ever noticed that since being with a certain woman, your energy has dropped, your friendships have weakened, your goals have been delayed, maybe even your confidence has eroded? That's not an accident. That's the mark of a woman who destroys instead of builds. A high-value woman, on the other hand, makes you sharper. She brings out your discipline. She supports your mission, encourages your friendships, respects your family, and inspires you to rise higher. She doesn't compete with your peace, she becomes part of it. But a low-value woman, she thrives only when you're weaker. Because when you're weak, she feels strong. When you're uncertain, she feels in control. When you're broken, she feels needed. Marcus Aurelius would remind us, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Spend years with a destructive woman, and your soul will take on her colors: chaos, bitterness, emptiness. But choose a builder and your life will be dyed with strength, peace, and purpose. So I'll ask you directly, do you want to spend your years rebuilding what she destroys, or building a future together with someone who adds to your life? Because the truth is simple. Love is either construction or destruction. There is no middle ground. And brother, if she destroys more than she builds, then you already know the answer. Closing reflection. If you see these signs, protect yourself. Don't argue, don't try to change her, don't beg. Marcus Aurelius would tell you, master yourself first. Guard your peace, your time, your energy. Remember, love is not about saving someone from themselves. Love is about building a life of virtue, calm, and strength with someone who walks the same path. And here's the real lesson. High-value relationships begin when you become a high-value man. The stronger you are in your Stoic discipline, the easier it will be to see who belongs beside you and who doesn't. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.